While that is warming up, I've got my 2 cups of walnuts so that we can get up to the measurement very quickly. Sugar will tend to do that. So it might be a little bit nuts in. I'm going to wash up that really quickly. Hot. Hey friends, I'm so excited to see you today. We are down in the downstairs kitchen and we're going to be canning. I just love experimenting and doing fun new recipes. I recently received this cookbook, Fall's new canning cookbook, that is, from a friend, and I've been anxious to try out some new recipes, and now that it is winter, I have the opportunity to do that. This video very well might be part of the January collaboration. I have not yet decided which videos are going to make the cut and which videos won't, but I am excited to get in here, dive in, and try a new recipe. We are going to go nuts today. That's right. So on page 113, we are going to make both the maple walnut syrup and the praline pecan syrup. So let's get to it. I really like having the actual cookbook in my hand because there's something about being able to go back to it and double check each step of the way is really important to me. And then I can use my other devices for math. Because like, for example, today I'm getting rid of the last of my walnuts and I have just barely enough that it's not going to be quite a full batch. And so I have to have done the math in my head, wrote that all down so that I have it ready to go. But I'll read to you as I do it as if we're doing a full batch. And the same with the praline pecan. I have a love of praline pecan anything. And my thought was we could work on making this for, ice cream, but what about on top pancakes, waffles? What about inside cakes and rolls and all kind of delectable, delicious treats? So I'm going to make 1.5 batches of that. But today, for all purpose sake, I will pretend as if we're making one full batch of each one. First thing I did is I went ahead and over here I have my steam canner going with my washed jars. I just have them stacked up in here so that they can stay nice and hot. I have my lids warming up on the stove, and now all we have to do is put it together, and I know it's going to come together in just a flash. So grab yourself a pan. And then the first thing I need to do is add my syrups. So you need to have 1 cup of maple syrup. Guys, don't get chintzy. Splurge. Get the real deal. Make sure that you go ahead and get real maple syrup. You know, not that fakey stuff, because it's mostly cornstarch anyway, and we're adding cornstarch. So go ahead and get that real maple syrup. Okay, now that I've got that in there, we need to measure out 1.5 cups of light corn syrup. So here's my half. And then we're going to add some sugar. We need 1/2 cup. I believe this recipe calls for white sugar, but I'm going to use brown sugar today. I'm kind of flip-flopping things up. Plop that down in there. And we also need 1/2 cup of water. And then this will go over to the stove top. And I'm going to turn it on a medium heat. Now while that is warming up, I've got my 2 cups of walnuts. And I'm going to go ahead and see here at the bottom, there's all this dusty looking stuff. We want to get the walnut pieces, but we don't want the walnut dust. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a fine mesh sieve, I guess, and dust those pieces right on out of there, because that will make your this will make your syrup cloudy if you would leave that in there. And we're going through a lot of work. We want it to look nice. Here we are. All those dusty bits we won't have inside of our syrup. We need to bring this syrup up to a boil. So while we're waiting on that, let's go ahead and get our ingredients ready for the next syrup. I happen to have the proper measurements here for, we need, well, I should have waited. Let's see. We need 3 cups, since we're making a cup and a half, of the dark syrup, but we don't have it. So did you know that you can make your own dark brown sugar and dark syrup? You most certainly can. You need 2 parts of the white corn syrup to 1 part of the molasses. And yes, I know it's a big jug, but we love molasses. Let this just kind of set it off to the side and let it drain so that we can get up to the measurement we need, because I know there was just enough in here. And then in this batch, we also need a 1/2 cup of water. So go ahead and put that in there. And a 1/3 cup of sugar. And that's it for now. We just have to wait for it to come to a simmer. See, it's starting to foam up. It's starting to warm up. We need to just let this come to a slow simmer. And you can see the color has started to change, but we're not ready yet. It's still too runny. We want a syrup. So we need to let this simmer and thicken. It might take up to 15 minutes to do that. We'll just keep an eye on it, not to let it over boil, because I think that could happen very quickly. Sugar will tend to do that, and boy, oh boy, what messes that is. So keep an eye. I can see I'm getting a little too crazy with it here, so I turned it down. I'm going to lift it up off away from the heat for just a second to get it to calm down before I put it back down on the heat again. And you're going to want to do this at a low to a medium heat. And just don't walk away. Oh boy. Okay. Turn the camera on and that boiled over. Whew, that was a close one. Close one. Okay, so I have been vigorously stirring while this, I have to calm it down a minute. If you stir really, really fast, sometimes you can get those bubbles to pop before it boils over and gets super foamy. So, how do you know if you've got it thick enough? Well, see the spoon? There you go. There's your answer. Okay, I'm going to turn this down. I'm going to stir this real quick. Just by turning the camera on really made a difference. Okay, remember, we have filtered this out. I decided to leave these nuts. Ooh, it didn't get it all. So it might be a little bit cloudy. That's okay. I'm okay with it. I'm going to be okay with this. It got the really fine stuff. But I left the nuts pretty big for the most part, because that's just the way I wanted them. And the praline pecan is going to be much smaller bits. And you'll see that in just a little bit. But what we need to do is go ahead and let this cook for about 5 minutes. Okay, so this has calmed down since I put the nuts in. I'm going to wash up that sieve and bowl so that we can use it for the pecans. And then I'm going to come back to this, and we're going to keep an eye on it and let it simmer for about 5 minutes, making sure not to let it boil over. That would ruin the day. We have let our nuts cook in our sauce, our syrup, for a good 5 minutes. So I've shut the stove off. I'm going to leave it on there for just a second, because what I want to do next is kind of prep my station here. I'm going to grab some jars. Remember, our lid is hot. Do not put it anywhere on the stove. That's not what we want to do. Our jars are going to be hot. Grab my grabbers. And the recipe says I should get, hot. The recipe says I should get 4 of these. But I got, as you can see, I have plenty of jars over here. Let's start out with 5 for now. I have plenty extra. Between the 2 recipes, I ended up getting like 15 jars out. Need a little hot pan. I'm going to move our nut mixture over here. I've got my lids. Actually, I don't want this right now. Changed my mind. I've got my lids over there. We need our funnel, and we're going to fill these up to a 1/4 inch headspace. And I want to make sure that I get, you know, a lot of nuts to a lot of sauce. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out and I'm going to do 4 first, okay, with a good amount of nuts, just because I do not want a bunch of nuts in one and hardly any in another. So that's why I'm doing that like that. Okay, sticky counters. Now I can go in and try to add sauce to fill in. I may not even have quite 4, which is okay. I remember now that I only had 3/4 of batch. Okay, I gotta get my pot into the hot soapy water because I want to wash it up so we can get the next one started while I work with this to get it to the proper headspace. This is hot. Grab my little, that was a close one. Grab my little grabbers here and get it to where I think a 1/4 inch is going to be, and then we'll double check it after and debubble it. Looky there, folks. Once I finally remembered what I was doing, we're going to go ahead and use this to just kind of debubble. Oh boy. Doesn't that look good? Oh, it smells good. I wish you could smell this. It smells so good. We have to. That's going to make the best cinnamon rolls ever. But I got to be careful. I'm allergic to walnuts. Time to check our headspace. Spot on. Spot on. Folks, we couldn't have planned that more perfectly. All right, let's move some of this out of the way. We'll get to this in just a second. Wipe up our sticky. We've got our pan washed here real quick. And a spatula. And remember, we've already pre-measured out our water, our sugar, our corn syrup, all the things. We're going to get them started to get the next batch started and going. Or you all get worried about me eating that. I don't have an anaphylactic reaction. It's not that kind of a allergy to the nut. It's just a discomfort. The skin inside my mouth gets irritated by it, and so it's something I rarely indulge in. And if I do, an English walnut does not seem to bother me as bad as, say, a black walnut. So don't worry, guys, I'll be okay, I promise. Let's get this started. And then now we're back to our walnut. A clean rag, and I'm going to put some vinegar on it. I'm going to be very generous with this vinegar because I know this is a sticky, sticky mess. And I'm going to clean the rims off really, really well. And I'm going to go around it 2 or 3 times just to make sure I've got it good and clean. And now you know why I wanted to make more than one recipe, because I want my canner to be a little more full. So because when I saw the recipe and it said it made 4 of these, I knew I could fit 8 of them inside my steam canner. Actually, I think I can get 9 or 10 of them jelly-sized jars, depending on which ones. These are the squatties. Now that these are good and clean, I'm going to grab my lids. They've been soaking in water because that is what the directions are for the lids I'm using. I'm using the ones that came with the jars, but if you already have jars and you just need lids, I might suggest that you try 4 jars. They're a really great company. They have really good lids and other products, but they have been an amazing company to work with, and I'm actually an affiliate of theirs. So if you use the code FarmWife10, you can save 10% off of your order. All right, now that this is clean, I will bring this back over, and we're going to go ahead and grab the rest of the jars off of the canner, and we're going to stick them on here so we can start loading the canner with our walnuts. We'll take our walnuts, but check this out. Isn't that lovely? It's beautiful already. So I'm going to stick those right here in the middle of the canner. And remember, I am not processing yet. I just have this on the back burner so that it can stay warm. Okay. It's coming up, getting hot again. And so this only takes just not near as long. You don't have to do the 15-minute thickener for this one because we used a higher ratio of corn syrup. So it's already, as you can see, it's already kind of thick. And so we are not going to have to cook it as long. And that is another reason why I did the walnut before I did the pecan, because I read in my book on, how to, the processing time, of course, was the same and all that. Now, you might be asking me, can you use other nuts? I don't 100% know that answer, but I do not see why you couldn't. I believe almonds can have arsenic in them, and so I really don't know what happens if you were to can almonds. I think I've seen recipes. I don't think there would be any problem at all with peanuts. And so I will do a little bit of research, and if I get that research done before this video comes out, I will add that in probably at the very end of the video. So stick around if that's a question that you have. If not, you ask me in the comments below, and surely I can get you an answer by then. So this is almost done. Our sugar is still sticking a little at the bottom. And once we get there, we'll go ahead and add our nuts. So while we're waiting, I'm going to do the same thing I did with walnuts. I happen to have the already chopped. If you've been around, I found a really good deal on these. And so we're going to have the small chopped pecans. They're already measured out. You know what? I had just the smallest amount of dust too. So go ahead and take the time to do that. I'm sure you'll have a much better product. You'll be a lot happier if you do. All right, we'll let this to a simmer, and then all we have to do is the 5 minutes with the nuts in there, and then I'll come back when I am ready to jar it up. So at this point, we can add in those nuts. I'll hopefully cool that down. 5 minutes of stirring. Then we're ready to process. I'm so excited to have this new product. It's so exciting to try fun and new recipes. Don't you just love trying new recipes? Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, you're canning like we are today, or whatever. I just really enjoy trying new things. I mean, that is why I am the inquisitive farm wife after all. We are now ready to go ahead and put these in some jars. I am going to start out with, I don't know, 5. And the nuts to syrup ratio is a little bit better with this when it's small. So I learned that, and I think it'll be easier to jar it up too, because I can continuously stir and mix the nuts and sauce together while that is dark. Okay. Of course, I'm going to make a mess. Let's see. See if I can't hold this off to the side. Probably going to be just about 4 of them. In theory, this should have given us 6. This recipe didn't seem to work out with the numbers that Ball had. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get more, sometimes it's a bit less. You never really know. Debubble these. And of course, the nuts, they're going to float to the top. We are right at the headspace. Yay! This stuff stains, so I'm going to wipe it up really quickly. Hot. Okay. Get our vinegar rag. Has not done anything but vinegar. Clean off these rings just like we always do. Lids. Nice hot lids, because that's what the directions call for. Read the directions on all your canning products. Each canner is going to be a little bit different on how it runs, and you want to go off of the manufacturer's directions, not what you might see online or a friend tells you. Do what the company has made and tested your canner to do. So, little tidbit for you. Fingertip tight. I'm just digging through my lids here, trying to find some that aren't terribly rusty, because you don't want to use rusty rings. And we're going to process these for 10 minutes. I'll get started on dishes, but before I do that, we got to taste this. I'm a little skeptical. The color, it's really dark, but and it smells a lot like molasses. Nope. There's definitely an aftertaste of molasses. Is it good? Oh, yeah. It's still really good. But it's really strong of molasses. So I'm not going to call this a praline nuts. I'll call this molasses pecan syrup. Molasses pecan syrup. Oh, I've already got things spinning in my mind of recipes I can use. First thing that comes to mind is bacon. What would you do with molasses syrup? Oh, other than eat it. So for my altitude, I need to be in the green zone before I start counting our time. And our processing time for this is just 10 minutes, just like you would jams and jellies. Simple, simple. A quick little tip for you. Put a little vinegar water in the bottom of your canner, whether you're steam, water bath, or pressure canning. That will help keep the hard water spots away. Okay, so now shut this off. We're going to let it sit. I'm going to tilt this just like that. That's all we have to do. We'll let it sit for 5 minutes. Here we have it. I've already started hearing them pop. Did you hear that? There, another one popped. And I'm going to try to remember where they are. Aren't they lovely and beautiful? Now the pecans from the walnuts because of the color. We're going to let these sit now for 12 to 24 hours. We'll come check seals. Anything that doesn't seal can either be reprocessed within 12 hours, or if you do wait the 24, then you'll just put it in the refrigerator and use it right away. Thank you so much for coming along with me today as we did some canning and learned some lessons along the way. I hope that you found this content valuable, and if you did, make sure you give me that thumbs up and share it out with your friends. If you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and hit that button so that you don't miss out on any future content and you can be a part of the Farm Wife fam. Bye for now. We'll see you next time. Hey folks, I didn't forget about you. I did come back. I was super excited. They all sealed and I just rinsed them off with some soapy water. No big deal. They weren't sticky or anything, but I like to do it just in case. And it kind of gives me that opportunity to lift it up and make sure that it really did get a good seal. So you probably want to know what they look like done. It is a very thick syrup. I don't know if you can see that on the video or not. It does move. I actually turned one upside down after I washed it just to see if the liquid would move. And here you go. You can see it does move down. So it's not like hard as a rock because, well, I've overcooked things and that's happened before, but that's not the case. It's just a very thick syrup, which is going to be really good for like baked goods. I'm super excited to have these on my shelf. You know, the molasses was a little strong in this, and I went back and I checked and I did the math wrong on that. And so I will probably end up just redoing these with some dark Karo syrup when I have some on hand. I just didn't have any today. And I did a little research, and it is okay to can other nuts with things. You don't want to just can nuts by themselves, but because it is mostly syrup with a little nuts, it is okay to interchange different kinds of nuts. So if you're a black walnut fan, a peanut fan, an almond fan, all those things are going to be safe for you to make your own nut syrups with. So I hope this encouraged you, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.